On the 2nd of July, 1776, Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Sherman, Mr. Livingston, and I submitted to the Continental Congress our draft of a Declaration of Independency. On the 2nd, they had voted for independence, and now the question was the manner of their declaring it. Mr. Jefferson had written nearly the entirety of it and did a very fine job of work, and he was distressed on the 3rd of July to see the Congress take their knives to it and cut great swaths out of his work. That evening we were speaking of it, and he was expressing his distress to see his darling, his child, so butchered. And I said to him, well, you know, I've always disliked the notion of submitting anything I've written to a committee or any other body of men. I learned that lesson very early. When I was a young man, an acquaintance of mine, Mr. John Thompson, completed his apprenticeship as a hatter, and he was all intent upon opening his own shop. One of the first things he considered is a handsome signboard to hang before his door. He thought a picture of a hat would be appropriate, and then what should the signboard say? And he spent a great deal of time deciding what it should be. And he at last arrived at John Thompson, hatter, for ready money, makes and sells the finest hats. He thought that was very handsome, very well. So he showed his proposed inscription to his friends. And one said, well, you've got a picture of a hat, and you say you make and sell hats. I don't know why you have to have the word hatter in there. It's superfluous. Everyone will know what you are. And so hatter was taken out. And then another friend looked at what was left and said, for ready money? Well, no one sells for credit hereabouts. Everyone expects to pay for what they buy, so there's no point in having for ready money on the sign. And so that was taken out. And another looked at it and said, John Thompson makes and sells the finest hats. Well, you know, if the hat is to his liking and at a good price, a man will buy it. He doesn't really care who makes it. So I don't see why you need to even mention that you make it. Just say sell. John Thompson sells the finest hats. Another said, well, every merchant says his merchandise is better than everyone else's. No one takes that seriously. I don't see why you need boast that your hats are the finest. Your customers will see their quality. And so that was stricken. And so all that was left was John Thompson sells hats. And his last friend looked at that and said, well, of course you sell them. No one expects you to give them away. And so that went as well. And all that was left was a picture of a hat and the name John Thompson. Well, Mr. Jefferson thought that was very funny. He got a good laugh out of it. He shook his head. He understood the point of it. And he told me later that my little parable had reconciled him to the much less drastic damage done to his declaration by the Congress.